Chào quý vị, trở lại với chương trình Cận Cảnh. Đề tài ngày hôm nay của chúng ta là trao đổi thương mại Việt-Mỹ, làm sao có thể gia tăng xuất khẩu của Việt Nam vào Mỹ. Thưa quý vị, tháng trước đây, với cuộc viếng thăm của Chủ tịch nước Trương Tấn Sang tại Mỹ, thì chính phủ giữa hai bên đã có một cái thỏa ước. Chúng ta sẽ cố gắng làm sao cho đến cuối năm 2013 thì cái cuộc đàm phán của Việt Nam gia nhập cái hiệp ước thương mại xuyên đối tác Thái Bình Dương sẽ cố gắng là kết thúc. Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ có cuộc trao đổi về triển vọng của TPP đối với xuất khẩu của Việt Nam. Mr. Sesto, yes, we talk about TPP. The recent visit of Vietnam President to the U.S., you know that both government committed that we try to finalize the TPP negotiation within 2013. It's a very good signal to confirm that both countries want to increase the trade relation. So far, a Amcham leader that you know how the U.S. business community discussed about that.
Maybe you mentioned President Sang's visit to the United States. Before the visit, I think that members of the American business community, some were quite concerned that Vietnam may have been somewhat behind in the negotiations of the TPP, and urged both people within the government and within the U.S. government to be sure that Vietnam was able to move forward with everyone else in the negotiations. I think that the visit of the President to the United States was really a turning point, and there is every sense that the Vietnamese government is very dedicated to working toward making the adjustments, the compromises, requiring compromises from its other partners in order to be able to facilitate joining the TPP when the negotiations are completed.
Do you think the U.S. business people also ready to take this opportunity? For example, we will see a new investment from U.S. to Vietnam to gain the 0% tax later if they export product from Vietnam to U.S.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that the American business community is almost totally aligned with the Vietnamese business community on issues that relate to export, trade, the TPP, that the views are very, very similar, and we often approach the government together because the issues that we have are shared by both sides, by both entities. Will the United States take advantage of the TPP? It's very hard to tell how that will happen, but if we look at what happened after the bilateral trade agreement, after WTO admission, there was a great boost, not only in worldwide investment and trade, but including the United States. I have every expectation that that's going to happen after the TPP is signed. What form it takes, again, I don't know. But the TPP is not only about trade, it's about investment as well, because you need investment in order to be able to support growing trade, and that is going to happen. What I hope is that Vietnamese will also invest in order to take advantage not just of the export opportunities, but also the creation of capital, the enhancement of the labor force, all of these things that are required to move the economy to the next level.
Yeah. Just come back about export product to the U.S. So far, still we see that the higher number of Vietnamese product export to the U.S. that mainly that raw product. You think can we export electronic IT product to the U.S.?
There have actually been some studies focused on Vietnam and that look at how will Vietnam benefit in a specific way. And there are several products that are projected for Vietnam to increase after TPP. One is garments and footwear, as you would expect, because it's already a leader. Second is textiles. So that tells me that now that Vietnam is importing textiles, they may become in a position where they will be producing more than they need and will be exporting. And the third area, which I think is quite interesting, is machinery. That tells me that the labor force is becoming will become more skilled. If those projections are correct, Vietnam will not just be exporting garment and apparel, but something that has a much higher value. I think that's what Vietnam really has to continue to focus on.
And do you think what kind of Vietnam investment policy should improve to attract more foreign investment?
I think if the economy were more of an enabling environment than a restrictive environment, that it would attract more foreign investment. We talked about infrastructure. Infrastructure is impeding some foreign investment. I think the Vietnamese are working very, very diligently and very hard to correct some of the transportation issues. Energy, as we talked about, is another area. Upgrading the labor force is important. I think that's work for not only the government, but also for the universities. I think it's work that can be done by the foreign business community, the Vietnamese business community. And I think that one way that Vietnam will be able to attract more foreign investment is to try to implement the TPP after it's enacted in a very broad sense rather than in a restrictive sense. We think that will be create a much more welcoming environment for investment. Vietnam can add value to products. There's no reason why it should only raise fillet and send fish abroad. It can do much more. It can fish. It can add value locally so that the money coming back to Vietnam is much larger than just supplying raw materials. So Vietnam has to get itself into the supply chain, not import components to manufacture, but manufacture the components to manufacture. And I think that TPP and the environment that it will create will help that. Vietnam does many things very, very well, and they just have to continue to try to do those things and move forward in that direction.
Thank you for very good advice. Thưa quý vị, chúng ta sẽ có đôi phút giải lao để sau đó chúng ta trở lại với cuộc trao đổi này, đặc biệt là về vấn đề các cái doanh nhân Việt Nam, các nhà xuất khẩu Việt Nam sẽ đón nhận, sẽ chuẩn bị cho cái cơ hội gia tăng giao thương với Mỹ như thế nào.